Recently divorced MTG starts Pride Month with transphobia. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene began Pride Month with a vile transphobic tweet. Greene has long aired her deeply homophobic and transphobic views in public, referring to Democrats as groomers and pedophiles for supporting gender-affirming care for trans youth, which she calls a child mutilation industry. She launched a homophobic verbal attack on a lesbian stepmom, saying, "Step and adoptive parents are not real mothers." Greene has also called trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney a pedophile, claimed that straight people will be extinct in about 4 or 5 generations, and even sold t-shirts mocking monkeypox, which has particularly affected gay and bisexual men. On June 1st, a month dedicated to uplifting LGBTQ+ voices and supporting LGBTQ+ rights, Greene decided to share some extremely on-brand transphobia, tweeting, quote, "There are 2 genders, male and female. Trust the science," end quote. Greene's tweet was quickly inundated by replies from LGBTQ+ users and allies, calling the Republican lawmaker out for her apparent embrace of science after her personal Twitter account was suspended last year for spreading COVID-19 misinformation. While others simply wished her and other anti-LGBTQ+ haters a very uncomfortable Pride Month. Listen up, Butch. I can't thank you enough for introducing me to the concept of the straight extinction we can look forward to in 4 or 5 generations. If I had a time machine, I would set it for then, throw a fabulous straight free party, and invite all my LGBTQ+ friends. Too bad you won't be on the guest list.
That science is incredibly interesting. You know, I wonder if we could scientifically prove that Jesus was trans. If we can. I mean, after all, we have XX and XY chromosome, correct? Well, if there was no father to actually give the other chromosome, Jesus was just an X chromosome, which, by the way, is called Turner syndrome and also presents as female. So, yes, we do have more than one gender, and if Jesus was, in fact, only one X chromosome, that means he was also trans by presenting himself as male while actually being born appearing female.
He wasn't white. He wasn't white.
He wasn't white.
Because we're a drug.
We just have a target on the backs of our heads right now. Don't go to Texas to that church.
And a crown. Sorry. I don't like to use the, I don't like covering any stories about, I'll just call her MGT, because I think it's just giving someone who's completely vile any more light. But what is mutilating children across the country, I'm on a soapbox a little bit, are guns. Guns are actually mutilating children across the country, in schools, in malls.
Uvalde.
Yeah.
Sandy Hook.
Yeah, in Tennessee.
380 other schools.
Yeah. Yes. A 1-year-old was shot on the beach. It was one of the victims in Hollywood that, was again, not killed, but injured.
Mutilated.
Mutilated. So, everyone in Georgia, I'm so sorry that this has to be your representative. I know that she obviously won the election fair and square, because I do believe that. But I hope that, parents and everyone who's looking to, live in a safe community looks at her voting record and the things that she's focusing on, because she's not protecting people and parents or families or children in Georgia at all.
Jeff, I applaud you, because you're more generous than me. First off, MTG is a clown. Mm-hmm. So there's no point in even discussing her, because, it's like a vaudevillian. They're just going to perform the dog and pony show as they've designed it to do. That's irrelevant and off the table. But I applaud you for being more forgiving of the Georgia district that votes her in. Mm-hmm. I don't forgive them, because at the end of the day, history will judge them. And the 2 times that you've voted for, or maybe 3 times, I can't remember now, for MTG, you're going to go back and agonize the votes that you did for her in that district, and the majority that she carries in that district. And the proof of that is there's a very interesting book, and I watched a focus group of a documentary of a group of German citizens in the 1980s that were around when the Nazi Party began to come to power, and what happened in the 30s, and their support of the democratic process to bring Adolf Hitler to power and the Nazis to power. They came to power democratically.
They were voted down.
MTG comes to power representing that district in Georgia democratically. But then it all goes awry. And they sit around and talk about the regret that they had in knowing the hate speech that was coming out of the Nazis in the 1930s, and the blame of the Jews, and the blame on the homosexual community, and them talking about, why did I go along with this? And vote for them democratically to bring them to power, to ultimate authoritarianism. And then their regret. Well, to those Germans that were in that documentary 40 some years later, I have no sympathy for you, because you participated in the overthrow of your entire society every step of the way. That's exactly what's going on in this district in Georgia.
Well, remember, she's also on Trump's short list for vice president if he's the nominee.
Well,
but I do want to just say one more thing about the reason that I say that about voters is that, you know, the Democratic Party did leave behind people that were poor, white, and uneducated, and who don't have the resources. Again, my family is from West Virginia, voted 70% for Trump, is become, you know, the reddest of red voting bloc, and vote against their own interests because they're not educated, and the Democratic Party did not speak to them to uplift them, to say, like, you know, the ideals of the Democratic Party were not brought to, and so what did they fall into? This trap of, let's blame gay people, black people, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is what we created because we didn't speak to those voters, and I think that's the problem.
We also have to have a populist message of the economy as well, because Republicans will lie and pretend to be populist.
Yes,
but
exactly.
They really just want death counts.
yeah. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.